I'd rather die. That was literally like, I mean, to give perspective and context, I, out of college, got a dream job for most people. Like I was making like $80,000, 23 years old. One of the first things they had us do was they sent us to Switzerland, all inclusive trip for 6 weeks, food covered, open bar every night. There was a bowling alley in our hotel. I was right on a lake. I was drinking espresso every single morning, just overlooking this lake and seeing the Swiss Alps. To most people, that's like, holy shit, I made it, especially at 23. And it scared me that first week because I got there and I was like, why do I not feel any different? Why do I not feel like I made it? And it was because we spent 10 hours a day in this boardroom building this app. And I would look out at the Swiss Alps and I'd be sitting there thinking like, why aren't we out there? Why are we these little ants? Like, why have we conditioned ourselves to be in here with our suits and our ties on, feelings like trying to make ourselves feel what we actually feel when we're on that mountain out there? Why are we doing any of this? And no one around me was asking that. Not a single one. Everyone there is just like, this is like, all my other friends are making 30 grand less than me. And like, they're not in Switzerland and they're comparing themselves to everyone else. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I have one life. I have one life. And every day I need to maximize. Now, again, because I'm a little older and wiser now, I had a different view because I was sick a lot of my life. Like I have celiac disease. I've had autoimmune conditions. My family members have died due to certain diseases. And it made me really ask myself, like, how do I want to spend my life from an earlier age than most? So I only lasted like 11 months at this job. It was a 2-year like program that I should have been in. And I only stayed the 11 months because I had to stay so I didn't owe a prorated amount of my bonus back. Otherwise, I would have left like 6 months in. Like I was like, this is not it. Sitting at a desk all day is just it ain't it. Like it'll never be it for me. And I want to be very clear. I'm not trashing anybody else out there, especially parents. Do what you got to do to provide for your family. I understand that. But if you have an ability and the curiosity and the grit to exit and you're feeling that, fucking do it. Like, do not wait another day. Go do it. And just don't give up because you'll never regret it. You will never regret it.
That's amazing. So walk me through that then. You make that decision. You're like, fuck this. I'm out. This is not how you're supposed to be living life. What happens then?
So it was way more gradual. I come off like I'm this person that will just like be like, fuck this and like change on a dime. But I'm a lot more calculated than I think I lead in, especially in my content. And people close to me know this. I'm very analytical, like math, science, like I analyze everything, every moment, like even to the point of like in this room, like the whiteboard over there, like the lighting, like I analyze everything. And in the past, that was very overwhelming to me. I think this is where the ADHD comes in. It was hyper stimulating. And I sometimes viewed it as a negative because school taught me it was a negative. Why can't you pay attention? Teachers would always say I'd get in trouble because I was so distracted all the time. Versus entrepreneurship allowed it to become a positive. How can I juggle so many different things at one time? And that's where I think if I dissect my life even further, because I played sports and got the engineering degree and I had a lot on my plate from a very young age, when I got to the corporate world, it wasn't enough. It also wasn't enough to satiate me. So I was in there and I was just like, yeah, this 9 to 5, like I'm used to going 14, 16-hour days or more. My brain is on. So like, what do I do with these extra hours? And that's really what it started. I started reading books and I read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And I was like, why do I have to work 40 hours a week to make 80 grand? How do I make 80 grand working 5 hours a week? Like, isn't that the equation everybody should be? Like, that's how I started thinking at 23. So it wasn't even necessarily the pain was the initial. It was like, what could I be? And that the fact that there was a cap on it as well, going back to competitiveness. So I want to highlight this because there was two sides of the equation for me. It was pain and I'm going to say, fuck this and jump the ship. But there was also this analytical side of me of if I'm going to do this, I'm going to understand how to do it. Not the right way. I don't like that, but the wrong way. The wrong way is have no plan. Don't be good with your finances, be disliked by people, there is a wrong way to exit. Um, but right way, that's defined by yourself. So for me, it was, how much money do I have like saved up? How much money how many days can I go with making $0? Like, what's my burn rate? I was doing these calculations at 23. Most people didn't even, if you ask a 23-year-old, what's your burn rate? They would have no idea. So I was like reading these books that were teaching me this. And I started my business. My first one was personal training and nutrition consulting on top of my desk job. And this was instilled in me from watching my parents and playing the sports. It was like, I can handle 14, 16, 18-hour days. Why not start the job first? Why have the leverage? And I would train people from 6 to 8, go to my job, and then train people 6 to 8 p.m. at night. I started getting the hang of it. That's when I actually shifted jobs. I got another corporate job because I moved to Houston. I don't have to go into that story, but I moved to a new location to be with my now wife. And I wanted a job in person and I wanted to learn sales. So I got a sales job. 1 month in, I was like, yeah, I'm not sticking this out. This ain't it. But I'm going to stick out the training and learn it. And then I'm really going to set myself up to figure out what the next leap is. And the needle, what's the saying? What broke the camel's back?
The straw.
The straw that broke the camel's back, not the needle. Needle and haystack is what I was thinking of. The straw that broke the camel's back, unfortunately, was my grandfather died. And I went to that funeral and I saw a couple other family members there that were in their mid 50s at the time. And I asked myself, like, is this what I want? Like, these are the people that genetically are connected to me and none of them live a life that I want. That is an interesting thing to witness in your early 20s. So if none of them are what I want, what's the opposite of what they did? And then I started saying, oh, none of them own a business. None of them own their time. That is the number one thing that all these people have in common. Their time was all based on somebody else telling them what they could do, when they can do it, and how they can do it. I got to go the opposite path. So I think that funeral was in October, November. January 2nd is when I quit my job. I went all in on that personal training business and nutrition, knowing that that wasn't going to be my business for the next 10 years. I think this is very valuable for anybody listening. The first thing you start, you can go into it being like, I'm just doing this as a bridge. That was my bridge. It paid my bills. And the reason I did personal training and nutrition consulting, I was an athlete. I always stayed in the gym. People asked me, hey, can you train me? It was an easy through line right there. I also, instead of being scarcity minded, like a lot of people are when they jump ship, I decided I'm going to invest. So I invested $500 a month in a place called Station Houston, and I would go hang around, going back to environment. I was going to hang around VCs, entrepreneurs, people building apps, and just learn the game. I'm going to pay tuition for the next 4 years, just like in college. Most entrepreneurs don't view it like that. They want to win. They want the $1 million the year one. I was very in tune with, I don't deserve $1 million, $10 million, $20 million until I fucking earn it. And that takes time. Just like college, people will drop $100,000 to get a piece of paper, but they won't put $100,000 into a business that pays them the rest of their life. That is crazy to me. So if you're listening to this, if you're not willing to invest in a business like we're able to invest in a paper, that's where you first start in your mind. It's like, why do I have this conflict? I never had that conflict. It was like, okay, I'm going to invest this $500 a month so I get access to these people. And then it was just a snowball effect. You start hanging around other entrepreneurs, you learn technologies, learn tools, just like you mentioned earlier on this. And before you know it, years go by and you're like, holy crap, my life is so much different than 10 years ago. Most people that knew me in high school or in my young 20s, like, they have no idea who I am now. And then the people that see me now have no idea that there was this other version of me that was completely different and trying to figure it out. Because I'll come off on here like I have it figured out. Now, what I don't have figured out is how I get to the 10 million, the 20 million, but I figured out certain levels, just like in Mario. I'll get to a level and then fail, and then I have to go back, and then I get to another level and then fail and go back. And that's the game of entrepreneurship. The more levels that you get up, the harder it gets. It doesn't get easier, right? But if you're a competitive person, that is the fun. It's more intolerable, just like we were saying, to not have levels. Or worse, the levels are capped. Can you imagine playing the same game over and over again? There's only 10 levels. You get to level 10, you got to start back at level 1. You just do it over and over again.
Yeah.
Some people like that.
Yeah.
If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a true entrepreneur, you hate that.
Right.
I want there to be infinite levels. And that's how you really dissect whether this game is for you or if it's not. If you like uncertainty and infinite levels, because then the story in your mind is like, oh, there's going to be novel every day. There's going to be things that I'm going to be challenged with every day. That's life, baby. That's living.
Yeah.